It's Crime Time with Nathan and Nora, a podcast dedicated to captivating crime stories from legendary heists to mysterious disappearances and infamous criminal masterminds. Prepare to explore the dark and compelling side of crime because it's crime time.
Okay, so we're diving into the Elle Harper case. She was a graphic designer, vanished from this picture-perfect town, Willowbrook.
Willowbrook.
Yeah, but it's not as straightforward as it seems, right? What starts as a missing person thing, it turns into murder, fake identities, the whole nine yards. Betrayal, too.
Yeah, lots of twists and turns in this one.
We've got a ton of sources here. Witness statements, police reports, you name it, ready to dig in.
Absolutely. I think what grabs you right away is this clash, right? You have Willowbrook, quiet, peaceful, almost idyllic,
Right.
And then boom, this whole messy web of lies and deception right there under everyone's noses makes you wonder about that small town innocence thing, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So Elle moves to Willowbrook 5 years ago, wants a fresh start. Talented, freelance graphic designer, everyone loves her. But behind it all, she's drowning in debt.
Yeah, those business loans, they really backfired. The pressure just kept building.
And that pressure, that desperation, is what leads her to fake her own death.
An elaborate plan, too. Meticulously researched, new identity, fake passport, the works.
Wow. Didn't go it alone, though, right? Brings in Rachel Wells, a career con artist, to, impersonate her.
Yeah, to be Elle while she disappears.
Wait, so she involves a pro. What would make someone like Rachel agree to this?
Couple of things. Money, for one. Elle takes out 10 grand, right? Probably to finance her new life. Safe bet Rachel got a cut.
Makes sense.
But also, maybe Rachel saw an opportunity. Bigger than just playing a part, Maybe steal Elle's identity completely. Identity theft, that's her thing, right?
So Elle might have been playing with fire a bit there. Bringing in Rachel?
Could be.
Okay, so let's jump to the night she's supposed to vanish. October 15th. They're meeting at this cabin out in the woods to finalize everything, and then things get really crazy.
That autopsy report, it throws everything out the window.
Yeah.
Elle was murdered 2 days before that meeting, October 13th. Someone was already pretending to be her while she was still alive.
Hold on. Someone's pretending to be her while she's still around.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's straight out of a movie.
Right. Total game changer. No longer a missing person. Now it's murder.
Makes sense.
And that's where Detective Marcus Hale comes in. He starts digging into Elle's life, and things get weird, fast. Research on how to disappear, that fake passport, the money problems.
He's putting it all together.
They're like a puzzle, yeah, but missing some pieces.
And just when you think it can't get any crazier, you've got the ultimate betrayal. Linda Carter, Elle's best friend, the mastermind. Seems she was hiding some serious resentment, like she was in Elle's shadow or something.
Jealousy, it's powerful, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, well, it pushed Linda to the edge. Sources say she saw Elle's plan as a way to, get rid of her for good and cash in.
Whoa.
So she contacts Rachel, offers her a bigger cut to double-cross Elle, basically kill her and make it look like the disappearance went wrong.
So Elle thinks she's being all clever, outsmarting everyone, but her own best friend sets her up.
Exactly. A total trap.
Chilling.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is Willowbrook, this quiet town, gets pulled into this whole mess without even knowing it. People had pieces of the puzzle, but didn't realize it.
Right. Those everyday things people see, they become clues. Like Jake Miller, the barista at Elle's favorite coffee shop, he remembers seeing her the night she vanishes. But she was anxious, distracted.
And that lines up with the timeline. So it was probably Rachel he saw, not Elle.
Exactly.
So even in a small town where everyone knows everyone, details slip through.
Right. It's like a real-life game of Clue.
Yeah.
Shows how these little things, they can end up being super important. Like Sarah Thompson. She runs the Willowbrook Art Collective. Elle was a member.
Right.
Sarah noticed Elle was acting strained weeks before she disappeared. Missing meetings, withdrawn.
So it wasn't just that one night, there were signs.
Absolutely. And then there's the creepiest part. Mia Carter, a teenager, she was by the old mill with friends. That's where they found Elle's car later. She sees a woman who looks like Elle, but wearing a hoodie, park the car and walk away.
Rachel again.
Most likely, yeah.
It's like the whole town was part of this act without knowing it.
Unwitting participants.
And all these little things, they help Detective Hale figure it out. He's not just looking at the obvious stuff, the staged disappearance, the missing money. He's going deeper, looking at her finances, those internet searches, connecting the fake passport to her.
Meticulous, tying it all together.
It's like a detective from a book, right?
Yeah.
Finding clues everywhere.
Exactly. And don't forget that timeline issue, someone impersonating Elle before she was supposed to be gone. That was huge. Shifted everything from missing person to possible murder.
It's not just finding clues, it's understanding what they mean, seeing the bigger picture.
Right. And as he learns more, the focus shifts to Linda and Rachel. Their stories fall apart. Things don't add up. And finally, Detective Hale gets them to confess.
So the truth was there all along, hidden in Willowbrook itself.
Yeah.
All these little things people saw, they helped bring justice.
Exactly. Shows the power of, community observation. We think of crime solving as high-tech, forensic science, all that. But sometimes it's the everyday stuff. The barista remembering a look, a teenager seeing something. That's the key.
It makes you think, how much do we miss just going about our day? We could be walking past a clue and not even know it.
We are, probably all the time.
It's a good reminder to, pay attention. And maybe just asking someone, are you okay, can make a difference.
Yeah, you never know.
Speaking of asking questions, let's talk about Rachel. She did the murder, right? But the sources say she claims she was scared, that Elle threatened to expose her past. Do we believe that?
That's the big question, isn't it? Self-defense. Or something else. Remember, Rachel's a con artist. Could be a convenient excuse. Maybe she saw a chance to get the money and become Elle, a fresh start.
So Elle's a victim twice. Her friend betrays her, and then the person she trusts to help her escape manipulates her. It's tragic.
Yeah, it's like she's blind to what's really going on, walking right into a trap.
Okay, so we've got Rachel's confession. Linda admits to her part. Even Victor Kane, the debt collector, who was a suspect at first, he gets caught up in the legal stuff.
Yeah, Victor. Interesting guy. He's cleared of the murder, but the way he went after those debts, well, it catches up to him. Crossed the line, it seems. Ends up facing extortion charges.
So, in a way, justice is served on a few levels. But it still feels like there are loose ends, questions without answers.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest one. What really happened at that cabin? We know Elle was murdered there, but the details, her final moments, that's still a mystery.
A missing piece.
Yeah. It haunts the whole case. We can guess, imagine different things, but the truth, it's lost.
And that's what makes this case so unsettling, right? Even with arrests, confessions, there's no real closure. The why is still there.
It's a reminder that sometimes, even when we think we have all the pieces, the full picture, it's just out of reach. There's this uncertainty that hangs over it. Some mysteries, maybe they never get solved.
It makes you think about those true crime documentaries. They always talk about how a crime impacts everyone, not just the victim's family, but the whole community. What do you think the lasting impact of this will be on Willowbrook?
It's hard to imagine anything staying the same, right? This was a town that was proud of its safety, that everyone knew each other. Now that's gone. People are looking at each other differently, wondering who they can trust.
It's like their whole world has been shaken up. You see the cracks in that perfect image, and you realize darkness can be anywhere.
And that's tough to deal with. It makes people face their own weaknesses, their own ideas about the world. This case also brings up some important questions about money problems and what people do when they're desperate.
It's like Elle's story is a warning. It reminds us that so many people are struggling silently. You wonder, did she have anyone to talk to? Did she feel completely alone?
The sources don't really go into her support system, but it does make you think. It's so important to reach out, to ask for help when you need it. And on the other side, to be there for others. Check in on your friends, family, neighbors. Sometimes just listening or offering help can change everything.
It's easy to get caught up in our own lives, our own problems, and forget to look around to see who might be hurting.
Yeah, it happens. And this case also shows how dangerous financial problems can be. The pressure, the bad choices it can lead to. It's a reminder that we need to talk about money more openly, have more resources for people who are struggling, and build a society where people feel supported, not judged, when times are tough.
Absolutely. We see financial struggles as a personal failure, but it's often so much bigger than that. A whole system that can trap people in debt and hopelessness.
Exactly. And even though Elle's story ended tragically, maybe it can lead to change. Start conversations about financial literacy, mental health, about building stronger communities.
It's about seeing the warning signs, those little cries for help, and reaching out before it's too late.
That's so important. We can all do something to prevent these tragedies. Not just by being aware of what's happening around us, but by being good listeners and supporters for the people we know.
This case has been Really thought-provoking. It shows how complicated people are, how fragile trust is, and how tragedy can affect everyone.
It's a case that stays with you, makes you look deeper, question what you think you know, and remember that even in the most peaceful places, darkness exists. And the consequences can be terrible.
Well, to our listeners, we want to hear your thoughts on this case. What stood out to you? What questions do you still have? Join the conversation on our social media, and let's keep talking about this. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and thank you for taking this deep dive with us.
It really makes you think, how much did people actually see Elle, or were they just seeing what she wanted them to see? The image she projected.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
We create these stories about people based on like a few interactions, and sometimes those stories are totally wrong.
Right.
So with all these pieces, how does Detective Hale actually crack the case? It sounds complicated.
Well, what's interesting is his approach. He doesn't just focus on the obvious,
Yeah.
the staged disappearance, the missing money. He goes deeper, like examining her financial records, finding those searches about disappearing, connecting the fake passport back to her.
Whoa.
He's meticulous, connecting all these seemingly random dots.
He's like one of those detectives from old mystery novels.
Exactly. And remember that timeline discrepancy? The fact that someone was impersonating her before she was even supposed to be missing?
Yeah.
That was crucial. It shifted the focus from a missing person to a potential homicide, changed everything.
So it's not just about finding clues, it's about understanding what they mean.
Exactly, seeing the bigger picture. And as he gets more information, the focus shifts to Linda and Rachel. Their stories start to unravel, inconsistencies pop up, and eventually, Detective Hale corners them, forces those confessions out.
So the truth was right there in Willowbrook the whole time. All these little observations from the community, they helped bring justice.
It really shows you the power of, people paying attention. We think of solving crimes as all high-tech, DNA forensics, but sometimes it's the ordinary stuff. The barista remembering a look, a teenager seeing something out of place.
Right, those little things.
Those are the keys.
It makes you think about all the things we miss just going through our day. We could be walking right past a crucial clue and not even know it.
Probably happens all the time.
It's a good reminder to be more present, Pay attention to our surroundings. And maybe just asking someone, "Are you okay?" can make a big difference.
Yeah, you never know.
Speaking of asking questions, let's go back to Rachel for a sec. She's the one who actually committed the murder. But the sources suggest she claims she did it out of fear, that Elle threatened to expose her past. Do we buy that?
It's hard to say. Was it really self-defense? Or was there more to it? Rachel's a con artist, remember. Could be a convenient excuse. Maybe she saw a chance to not only get the money, but also take over Elle's life completely, a fresh start.
So Elle becomes a victim twice, betrayed by her friend and then used by the person she trusted to help her escape.
It's like she's completely in the dark, walking right into this trap.
Okay, so we have Rachel's confession, Linda admits to her part, and even Victor Kane, the debt collector who was a suspect early on, he gets caught up in all the legal stuff.
Yeah, Victor's an interesting character in this whole thing. He's cleared of the murder, but the way he went after those debts, it backfires on him. Seems he crossed some lines, ends up facing extortion charges.
So, in a way, justice is served on a few different levels, but it still feels like there are unanswered questions, loose ends.
Absolutely. The biggest one being what actually went down at that cabin. We know Elle was murdered there, but the specifics, those final moments of her life, they're still a mystery.
It's like the missing puzzle piece.
Yeah. Haunts the whole case. We can speculate, imagine different scenarios, but the truth, it's gone.
And that's what makes this case so disturbing, right? Even with the arrests, the confessions, there's no real sense of closure. The why lingers.
It reminds us that sometimes, even when we think we have all the pieces, the complete picture, it's just out of reach. There's this uncertainty that hangs over it. Some mysteries, they may never be fully solved.
It really makes you think about those true crime documentaries, They always talk about how a crime impacts everyone, not just the victim's family, but the whole community. What do you think the lasting impact of all this will be on Willowbrook?
It's hard to imagine it not changing things, This was a town that was all about safety, knowing your neighbors. Now that's gone. People are looking at each other differently, wondering who they can trust.
Like their whole world has been flipped upside down. You see the cracks in that perfect image they had, and you realize darkness can be anywhere.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with. It makes people face their own vulnerability, their own ideas about the world. This case also brings up some important questions about, money troubles and what people will do when they're desperate.
It's like Elle's story becomes this cautionary tale, a reminder that a lot of people are struggling silently, and you wonder, did she have anyone to turn to? Did she feel totally alone?
The sources don't really get into her support system or anything, but it makes you think. It's so important to reach out, to ask for help when you need it. And on the other side, to be there for other people. Check in on your friends, your family, your neighbors. Sometimes just listening or lending a hand can make a huge difference.
It's easy to get caught up in our own lives, our own problems, and forget to look around, to see who might be hurting.
It happens. In this case, it shows how dangerous financial problems can be. The pressure, the bad decisions it can lead to. It's a reminder that we need to be more open about money, have more resources for people who are struggling, and build a society where people feel supported, not judged, when times are tough.
For sure. We tend to see money problems as a personal failing, but often it's much bigger than that. A whole system that can trap people in debt and despair.
Exactly. And even though Elle's story ended tragically, maybe it can be a catalyst for change. Start conversations about financial literacy, mental health, about building stronger communities.
It's about recognizing the warning signs, those little cries for help, and reaching out before it's too late.
That's so important. We can all do our part to prevent these kinds of tragedies, not just by being aware of what's happening around us, but by being good listeners and supporters for the people in our lives.
This case has been really thought-provoking. It shows how complex people are, how fragile trust is, and how tragedy can impact everyone.
It's one of those cases that stays with you, makes you look deeper, question what you think you know, and remember that even in the most peaceful places, darkness exists, and the consequences can be devastating.
Till next time, stay curious, stay informed, and thank you for taking this deep dive with us.